You'd certainly think that being the Yankees with the biggest revenue, certainly in the American League, I'm going to say the Dodgers probably have the biggest revenue now that they have Ohtani, but the biggest revenue certainly in the American League and historically the biggest revenue and the most valuable franchise, you'd like to think they'd be able to get their number one priority done.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. He's Brian McKeon. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. We did not win the Golden Globe for Best Podcast on Sunday night, but maybe next year we'll make it in the running.
There you go. It's a goal of ours.
Yeah. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day.
Our guest is the one of the most credible baseball reporters out there right now in the entire major leagues, a returning guest to the Locked On Yankees, Jon Heyman. Jon, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing really well. This has been an exciting offseason, I think, from like a baseball nerd's perspective is what I'd call myself. But from like a baseball nation perspective, people are calling it kind of slow. Do you feel that way about it, or are you actually fascinated in when this offseason's gone?
No, it's not very fast moving. So I would say slow is probably a good word for it. We still have 6 guys who are out there as free agents who are expecting to get $100 million plus deals. And in Kyle Tucker's case, hoping to get a $400 million deal. So we still have a lot of really good players still out there with a month to go before spring training. I wouldn't say this has never happened before, but it's certainly on the slow side.
So a lot of news around Cody Bellinger, the Yankees. It feels like from our perspective, the Yankees are all in on him and he is their biggest target. I think last I heard, it feels like it's a 5-year deal that they're trying to get out of him. Is that what you're hearing as of now?
Well, right now, obviously they're not in agreement. So there's certainly a little bit of a gap. And they're working on that. And in the meantime, they're far enough apart that the Yankees are looking at Bichette and maybe some other alternatives. And Bellinger is looking around as well and certainly has his old teams. The teams that had him, they all like him, right? The Dodgers, the Cubs, and the Yankees seem to be the 3 most prominent teams on Bellinger right now. The Mets have been connected, as have the Giants as well. But certainly they're both sides are talking to other entities at this moment. So it doesn't feel like it's going to be quick, but you never know. It's a fluid situation. Certainly could happen any day, but right now there clearly is a gap. And when there's a gap, it's usually about the years more than the money.
Okay, so it's more term than money. You think money is pretty much are you thinking it's around that $30 to $32 million range? That's kind of the sense that I get.
Well, it's been reported that they've offered over $30 million. So, I think that they haven't come to an agreement. So I don't know that they're agreeing on anything at this point. But normally it's the years that really is the holdup. And right now it's a bit of a holdup. I'm not anticipating it happening today or tomorrow. But as I said, it's fluid and things change at a moment's notice. They certainly have made him the number one priority. Is there a guarantee that they're going to be able to keep him? No, not a guarantee, but you'd certainly think that being the Yankees with the biggest revenue, certainly in the American League, I'm going to say the Dodgers probably have the biggest revenue now that they have Ohtani, but the biggest revenue certainly in the American League and historically the biggest revenue and the most valuable franchise, you'd like to think they'd be able to get their number one priority done.
Do you think those other teams that you mentioned are really in on him, or you're just hearing some rumblings about it?
Oh, sure. They're in on him. They're interested in him. I don't know the offers or they're, maybe waiting to see how things go with the Yankees. And right now it is a bit of a lapse. I don't want to say they're at a standstill or an impasse or anything like that, but certainly it's a time for both sides to look around a bit. And I do think that they are. And certainly Bellinger was a 5-WAR player with 29 home runs. So to think he has no other interest, I mean, that would be pretty much folly, I would say. Obviously, it's moving slower for everybody, and some really good players, don't seem to have that much going on right now. But I think Bellinger, certainly we've heard with the Yankees, and they are trying. I think they're at least at a reasonable level right now. I don't think they're messing around. I think they are trying to keep him, but it's a player who was very good last year, really good. And I think we can expect there'll be other teams in the bidding.
John, we were very fascinated, and me and Stacey were both kind of in agreement that Edward Cabrera made a lot of sense for the Yankees. I think it made a lot of sense for Edward Cabrera's career arc and where he was, but I think for the Yankees it made a lot of sense too. You can kind of plug him into that 5-hole once the rotation was healthy, gave him a chance to evolve into that ace status and have Matt Blake fix him. What do you think it was that the Cubs were able to offer that the Yankees weren't willing to part with that made him wind up in Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, I heard different things, but certainly the Yankees tried for Cabrera. He did make sense. They seem to have some money issues this year. I will say this. I think the Yankees rotation is in a better place than most teams right now. They have 4 viable to much better than that starters ready to go at the beginning. Cole and Rodon will be available within the first couple months, and then Schmidt a little bit later. But certainly you start with Schlittler and Fried at the top, and Heel and Warren. They're not in bad shape. They definitely want to get another starter. And it feels like the trade route is probably the way to go. When we had our conference call with Hal Steinbrenner, he did talk a lot about the budget and his concern about the budget. And you could say, okay, I understand it, or you could complain or whatever, but that's the reality of the situation. And it does feel like the trade route is the more likely route right now. At least that's the one they're going to try to get that starter in. Skubal obviously is being talked about by teams. I heard that the Yankees heard that they wanted half the team, and we get it. He's the best pitcher in baseball. So that probably isn't happening for anybody, not just the Yankees, but certainly there are very good starters out there on the market, whether that be Freddie Peralta. Now, Peralta only has 1 year to go, maybe a more accomplished, not maybe, definitely a more accomplished pitcher than Cabrera, but 1 year to go versus 3 for Cabrera. So it may actually cost less for a Peralta, although it certainly will cost a decent amount. And the Marlins asked for a lot, and I think they got a reasonably good deal. Owen Casey is one of the top 50 prospects in baseball. I mean, you hear certainly that they liked George Lombard Jr., at least going back to the summer. They probably were off of that because the Yankees made clear that he's an untouchable. I mean, everybody likes Ben Rice, but he wasn't going in this kind of a trade. My understanding is that they were talking about Ben Hess, the right-handed starter, Dylan Lewis, who I think the Marlins liked a lot, potentially a very, very good player, and a third player. Now, I'm not sure whether that was offered or the third player was the holdup or what the holdup was, but for whatever reason, they liked Owen Casey. They preferred that deal, and they went with that deal. I think the Yankees probably made a fairly reasonable offer, but I think Owen Casey is a guy that they really wanted. Just like they wanted George Lombard Jr., Yankees weren't willing to give him up.
Before I ask the last question that we actually have listed, I have to ask about this because the news came out on Thursday. The difference between what Skubal asked for and what the Tigers offered. What is your thought about the difference between $19 million and $32 million?
It's a big difference. We've never seen a $13 million gap before in arbitration. It is something. And, there's a good chance they're going to a hearing. Not guaranteed. They could go right in the middle there and go with $26 million or so. I'm shocked that they offered $19 million. The record was 1975, I believe. So it was David Price.
Oh, yeah, David Price,
9 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So 9 years ago, David Price, who had one Cy Young and not in his platform year, got more than $19 million. So I'm not sure they justify that other than the midpoint, looking at the midpoint, which is, I guess, around 25 or 26, and saying, you know what, he should be below that midpoint. Not that he should be at 19. I don't think anybody believes he should be at 19. I would think they offered more than that while they were talking. If they certainly were trying to sign him, you got to offer more than Price. He's the best pitcher, and Price got that 1975 9 years ago. That's 9 years ago is a long time, right? There's been a lot of inflation in the 9 years, certainly in baseball salaries. Now we have three $40 million players. We have a whole raft of $30 million pitchers. So I'm not sure how they're going to argue the 19 million. If they just said 20 or 21 or something above Price, you could defend it a little bit better. But it is pretty shocking that they are 13 million apart.
Just to piggyback off of that, do you think that means they're definitely trading him? Because if
No.
you're going to keep him, why would you disrespect him with the salary that low?
Well,
right?
They offer him 4 years and $75 million. That wasn't even close to the market, and they kept him last year after they offered the 4 for 75. I mean, teams are pretty disciplined about the money. They don't, not trying to make any friends, and certainly not making any friends with these offers, right? The $75 million offer that they gave him, I think it was in November a year ago. Crochet, who had one good year, got $100 million more a week later. So, not that Skubal needed any convincing not to take the $75 million, but they weren't even in the ballpark. So, who knows? It's about business. That's business. There's nothing against Skubal. He's a terrific guy. We had him on our podcast at the New York Post. He's fantastic. Obviously, he's the best pitcher in baseball, and just a difference of opinion over what he should get, not the value, because obviously the value is a lot higher than the $32 million ask, right? But what he should get in arbitration.
Coming up next, more with Jon Heyman. The NFL playoffs are here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Now, each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts that you can apply to the bets that you like most. Here's what you do. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boost gives you more juice on the bets that you already like instead of forcing you to bet on something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. Here's what you do. Make your picks and then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs are rolling. So visit FanDuel. It's an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. We want to thank you guys for making Locked On Yankees your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't done it already, go check out our new Everydayer Club, where you get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Yankees, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcasting app. Also, you get an invite to our members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of the show. You can also click that QR code in the top right-hand corner of your screen. That'll take you directly to the link to sign up for the Everydayer Club. Or you can go over to lockedonyankees.supercast.com. If you're watching us on YouTube, it's in the show notes. So we're back here in New York Post's Jon Heyman. Jon, I have a question for you on the Bichette situation, because me and Stacey have kind of talked ourselves into, why aren't the Yankees poking around here? Because it fits, and especially I think there's a good chance you could find a market for Jazz Chisholm Jr. if you're not planning to sign him long-term and plug in Bichette there. My question more is a Blue Jays guided question, though. What has kept them apart? The Blue Jays and
yeah, I mean, they've been together for a long time, and when you're together a long time, sometimes there are some conflicts. So I don't know. We don't know exactly what's going on there, but it doesn't feel like they're dead set on keeping him. Right? They seem just as interested in Bregman, if not more, or just as interested in Tucker, if not more. So I don't know. I'm not going to draw any conclusions or say who's wrong or right or whatever. I do think the Yankees are poking around on Bichette. They're one of the teams that has inquired about him. I do think they have some level of interest. I think Bellinger is clearly #1, but as we've said, there's a bit of a gap there, and the next alternative seems to be Bichette potentially, and you can make it fit, right? Even if you don't trade Chisholm, certainly Volpe isn't ready at the start of the year. Then he could be some first base along with Rice, some DH, could play some third base, for a year, and then Chisholm is a free agent. So I think second base is his best spot anyway. So if you sign him to let's say a 7-year deal, whatever it is, if you have 6 of those years at second base, I think you can make it work. But yeah, Chisholm certainly would have a market. I don't know that they're anything close on that. In fact, I've heard that there's nothing imminent on that. Could be proven wrong, but I think you can make it work with Chisholm and Bichette potentially for 1 year.
So you've been doing this a while, and we discussed this before we started recording, but has this particular offseason surprised you, or were you expecting it to play out kind of slow given the uncertainty of 2027?
No, yeah, it's been slow. Yeah, I mean, certainly the CBA issue after next year, after this next baseball season, that could be weighing on people's minds. A TV issue could be weighing on people's minds. It could be something specific like Dylan Cease getting that big deal and then the other starting pitchers not wanting to sign until they got something comparable. It could be that people think that there's a lot of great trade pieces out there and they'd rather do it that way than spend the money, and they're just waiting. There are a number of reasons, but it is definitely going slow. I thought it felt like Bregman's got at least 4 teams that are really interested in him. You would have thought, and this has been going on weeks, so I thought he was going to sign by now. So I'm surprised that he is not signed to this point. And as I said, we've got 6 guys out there expecting $100 million plus. We have 20 out of the top 50 players still to go. It is particularly slow this year.
Would you believe the Yankees are shopping Jazz Chisholm Jr.? I know there's been some kind of leaked reports about that. Do you think they're shopping him, or you think it's one of those, we'll listen to offers, but we're not necessarily planning on moving him?
Yeah, I don't know. That is a fine line there. No team will ever admit that they're shopping anybody, no matter how hard they're trying to get rid of somebody. I mean, the Mets probably never said they were shopping McNeil, but obviously they were shop. I think at this point we can say that they were shopping him. Same with Senga. This one, I mean, we're talking about a 30 guy, an all-star. They're certainly not going to admit it if they are shopping him. They're dangling him. I don't know. It's a fine line. I don't know. They're willing to listen. They're not willing to listen on Aaron Judge, right? They're not willing to listen on Ben Rice. They're not willing to listen on Schlittler or Fried or whatever. They're willing to listen on this one. And, I think he's a year from free agency. And I think that's the main factor in this. I don't think there's anything particularly negative about Jazz Chisholm other than he's a year from free agency and they are interested in Bo Bichette.
I have 2 questions, because one I thought of as you were speaking. Were you as surprised as we were with the Dylan Cease deal? Because it seemed to have come out of nowhere, and it felt like everyone was surprised that the Blue Jays went after that particular player and made that kind of a deal with him.
Well, not at that moment, because I'd been hearing that they were talking about it. So I wasn't surprised, only because I've been hearing about it. And as far as the money, I had a little bit lower figure for Dylan Cease. I thought he was one of the top 3 pitchers out there. So wasn't that shocked. I am shocked by of course you hear mostly good things about the Japanese guys, but apparently everybody saw some flaws with them because they didn't get anything compared to what people predicted them to get. So I've been surprised by that more than anything. But Dylan Cease, I think I had 175 predicted for him, and he ended up with, what did he get, 210?
Yeah.
And some deferred. So the value of it might have been close, might have been a little bit over what I predicted, but it isn't that much over what I predicted. I mean, he's very, very durable. He is talented. It seems like every other year he's a top pitcher, and then the other year he's average, or not even last year wasn't even average.
Right.
So I figured there's going to be somebody out there who figure they can fix him because he throws 99 and he's got that great slider and he's never hurt. So the durability and the velocity, I think, led to a big contract. But I mean, we still have Framber Valdez out there, and Framber Valdez has actually been a more successful pitcher than Cease. But sometimes they look at different things than actually what somebody has produced over their career.
Let's go back to the Yankees. What do you think is Anthony Volpe's future with the team?
Well, for now, unless they sign Bichette, his future is that in a month or 2 into the season, he'll be the shortstop. Caballero would start as the shortstop if they do not sign Bichette. I mean, if they sign Bichette, frankly, they may just go with Bichette as a shortstop, right, and look to move Volpe. My scenario before where they could move Bichette around is possible, but they're not going to say if we sign Bichette, we're just getting rid of Volpe. So, but if you do sign a guy for a $200 million deal, I'm just estimating what he might get. He might get 250. I don't know. You got to figure that Volpe, who's been there 3 years and third year was the weakest of the three, certainly a disappointment. He might be on his way out. So, I think they still like Volpe, but I think they certainly have the concerns that maybe not to the degree that the fans do, but they certainly have to have some concerns after the season that he did have. And it was a real disappointment because he was really good in the playoffs the previous year.
What do you think the market would be for Volpe if he were available?
Not much. He did not have a good year last year. And certainly if you have Bichette on the team and you have to trade the guy, it's like if the Phillies got Bichette and then they have to trade Bohm, nobody's going to be overpaying. So, Volpe is probably a starting shortstop for his career. I don't think he's ruined. I don't think his career is over. I think he's usable as a starting shortstop. Is it going to be for the Yankees? Obviously, we're less confident in that at this moment, but I think he is a starting shortstop, but he's also a guy who had a low batting average last year, and his defense was not as good as it had been in previous years. So I don't think you'll get a lot for him. No, unfortunately. The timing isn't good. You sell low, you get little. That's basically Jon
Heyman is our guest here on Locked On Yankees. Two more for you here, John. You are one of the most credible baseball reporters, especially this time of year. The amount of people that are going to your Twitter feed on a daily basis that are baseball fans has got to be absurd. Who is the surprise team this offseason? Who's lurking? Who are you shocked that's making offers and involved in these free agent things? Because every year there's a surprise team.
Well, I think the Orioles. The Jays have the money. They have the richest owner, certainly in the American League, not in baseball. We know that's Steve Cohen. So we can't be shocked about the Jays. They got the taste of the World Series. They made reportedly $100 million by getting all the way to Game 7 of the World Series, and they are a big market team. The Orioles are a small market team. Obviously, they disappointed last year. They have a relatively new, much better owner. So I don't know if it's shocking, but it certainly is refreshing to see the Orioles out there spending $155 million for Pete Alonso and bringing in Helsley and bringing in Ward and Kittredge, and they're still working. I wouldn't be shocked if they got Suarez or somebody else really good. So I'm giving the Orioles credit. They were my number one winner because of the surprise factor. The Jays have done the most and they've done the best, but the Orioles are my number one winner based on, the surprise factor as well.
And the last question, do you think we could be in for a busy deadline based on how the offseason has gone, or do you think the Yankees are content and view themselves as serious World Series contenders right now?
Well, the odds makers have them with 93 or 94 wins right now. So, I think they feel that way as well. And I don't think they're in bad shape. I know they've only signed 3 guys for, I think, $2 or $2.5 million each. So the fans aren't too excited. Even if you bring Bellinger back, it's bringing the same team back after a disappointing finish. But it's a very, very good team. I think they're in very good shape. I don't know. We'll have to see where they are at the deadline. I don't think this offseason proves anything one way or the other about the deadline. I still think they're going to do more stuff. I think they'll come up with a starting pitcher. I think if they don't sign Bellinger, they'll sign somebody else pretty good, whether that be Bichette or maybe Austin Hayes. But I know that that's not going to excite fans. But I think their team's good. I think 93 or 94 is over a bit, considering they won 94 last year, and they're not probably as good on paper, but let's remember that you've got Garrett Cole coming back. You didn't have him last year at all, right? So, and you have Schlittler for the whole year. So, I think they're in pretty good shape. If I'm them, I would have looked to improve that bullpen. I'm hearing they're bottom feeding on the bullpen, which isn't a shock because there's mostly your bottom type pitchers left. The bullpen is the one place that's been active, right? You had about 8 or 9 really good closers. I think they're all gone at this point, right? And That's one area where I would have been concerned. Their bullpen wasn't good last year. It was not good. I remember scouts were telling me that in June and July, and I was writing that. I'm like, really? They have pretty good names. I think and then they got worse as the season went on. Other than Williams, who got a little bit better, and they got Bednar, who was good. But right now they lost two guys with talent, and Weaver was really good for them 2 years ago to the Mets. And to me, that's the one area that I'm really concerned about is their bullpen. But overall, I think they're in better shape than almost everybody else as usual. And I'm not shocked that people expect them to win 93 games. I know people are disappointed that they haven't made a big splash to this point, but their starting pitching is pretty darn good. You know, Fried, Schlittler, then you got Rodon and Schmidt coming, and you've got you've got certainly Cole coming, and they've got Aaron Judge. You got Aaron Judge, that's a 10-win guy right there. So I think they're in pretty good shape.
His name's Jon Heyman, New York Post. John, we thank you so much for joining us once again.
All right. Thanks, guys. Glad to be with you.
We hope that you guys enjoy when we have guests on like Jon Heyman as much as we do, because it truly does give us an insight on some things that are going on. We've discussed this before just to keep you guys aware, and I think you guys should stay aware as much as you can too. There's a lot of fake stuff out there on social media. A lot of people that pretend to be involved or in the know when it comes to sports of who's getting moved, who's got rumors around them, who's this, that, and the other. A lot of it's not true. So you got to know out there who are the people that you can trust and who are not. And there are, I want to say less than 10, Stacey.
It's like a handful.
Yeah, it's like a handful of guys that are like reliable sources out there right now. Jon Heyman's one of them. And it's honestly quite an honor that he likes coming on Locked On Yankees, because there are not a lot of podcasts that he goes on.
Right.
There are not a lot of shows that he's on. He does not make a lot of appearances. He's very active on Twitter, and that's where you get a lot of the news from him. But other than MLB Network, where he appears a lot, which he's contractually obligated to, and his job on New York Post, he's not going on a lot of podcasts outside. So I'm very glad that he does that with us, and he likes coming on our show. And he gave us some really good insight, and he is very connected with this kind of stuff. So I do trust his opinion on it. From what I hear, and he was not willing to say this in the interview directly, but it's a sense that I got, they're shopping Jazz Chisholm Jr. And I don't think he was willing to directly say it, but it sounded like he beat it around the bush quite enough to kind of say they're shopping him without actually shopping him. Did you get that same sense?
Sort of, yeah, because we've been saying that, the Yankees are listening on everyone. They're not necessarily shopping certain people, but yeah, from what he said, it almost felt like maybe they are actually shopping.
It almost felt like it's from and he used a lot of the reasons that we've been using. It just makes a lot of sense. They're not going to want to give him a long-term deal. He's going into the last year of his deal, and his value's at its ultimate highest. So you actually could get something back for him. And I think that ties it into them being involved in Bichette. Now, that rumor's been kicked around a lot. He confirmed that they've reached out to Bichette to us. And I actually, from looking online, I don't think that's been reported anywhere yet. That they're actually, in on Bichette, and they're looking into Bichette, and they've contacted Bichette's team and stuff like that. It's always kind of been assumed the Yankees would be involved, but it never has been directly reported. So that was pretty cool to hear. And he did kind of, prove our theory correct too, that if Jazz is being shopped, it's kind of going to be contingent with Bichette, which is interesting because we thought that was the case the entire time. Me and you kind of were saying, well, if they're going to move Jazz, they kind of have to bring in Bichette. So they have someone to play second base. He also told us too, because we kind of piggybacked this with, well, if they're going to bring in Bichette, and they're going to trade Jazz, that almost means Volpe definitely has a job next year, right? And John didn't certify that. John told us Volpe could be on the move. Volpe could be traded. Volpe's spot is not guaranteed on this roster, which I think is very interesting too. Now, I don't think the Yankees personally would want to trade Volpe and get nothing back. And John did confirm that too, that the package would be very small for Volpe. They're not going to get much value back. To me, if you're Brian Cashman, you can't hype up Volpe as much as the organization did. You can't take him in the first round. You can't have all of this kind of stuff behind Anthony Volpe and then trade him for a bucket of balls.
Right.
So I don't know if they're going to be in the market to trade him, but I do find it interesting that what they do this offseason, I don't think it's a guarantee Anthony Volpe's on this roster. I think right now there's a better chance he's on this team. But I don't think his roster spot is written down in ink. I think it's in pencil right now. That's at least what I got out of John. I could be wrong. You could have saw it a different way. But it feels like Volpe is penciled in at shortstop right now. It's not in ink.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Yankees are so invested in Anthony Volpe that there's no way that he's not going to. Like, I don't think they're going to do anything to try and get rid of him.
I think he gets a chance. I do think it'll be a quick trigger, though, if he's not good next year.
I mean, I hope, no offense, and I say this every time we talk about Anthony Volpe. No offense to Anthony Volpe, but this is going to be his 4th full season with the Yankees when he comes back from his injury. And we have to see something. I know he's still young, but like I said the other day, he needs to figure out what kind of player he's going to be. Are you going to try and hit home runs all the time? Because it's not working out. Or are you going to be the type of guy who gets on base and makes things happen? Because I think the latter is the better choice.
They also don't need that. They don't need a power hitting shortstop.
No, they have enough guys to hit home runs on the team. You don't need to do it. Every once in a while, if you want to run into one, feel free. I mean, it's like that with every baseball player. Like, you want to see some home runs from guys, but I would prefer for him to change his strategy as a hitter.
I found it not surprising remotely, but it is clear that Jon Heyman made it to us. Ben Rice is untouchable. And it does seem like, from what he said, because he brought it up a few times, teams have asked for Ben Rice in trades.
Mm-hmm.
Like people do ask for him, which means he's very respected around the league. And the Yankees have basically said kick rocks to every team that's had that conversation.
Yeah,
which is good. I'm glad
they're not getting rid of Ben Aros. No way.
No, they're not. They're not. And I love the Yankees' response towards that. But I do find it obvious the fact that here's the thing: when you have reporters on like Jon Heyman, you have to kind of read the tea leaves with these guys. Like, Heyman is not going to directly say anything, because when that report gets out there, it can be twisted as, because it's happened to these guys all the time. They say one word and someone else will put it out there like, oh, Yankees are shopping Ben Rice.
Like an awful game of telephone.
Yep. And it happens all the time. So these guys, and it's brilliant work by John, very, very meticulous in what he's going to say and how he says it. So you got to kind of read
it for so long.
Bingo. And you got to read the tea leaves with these guys. That's why I think with the Jazz stuff, like, he wasn't going to directly say they're shopping Jazz Chisholm Jr. because honestly, this is what happens. We put out a promo video of it sounding like they're shopping Jazz, of John saying they're shopping Jazz. That gets circulated around the internet. People start picking it up and talking about it. Then it gets back to the Yankees. It gets back to Jazz. It bothers Jazz. Now his trade value shot. So these guys are, and then what happens after that? Whoever John's representative on the Yankees is doesn't like John anymore, and he's not getting texts anymore about breaking news and stuff. So these guys are very, very careful, and you have to kind of read the tea leaves of what you're getting. That's the at least sense that I got out of John, not saying that he said that. Is there anything in this interview that we did that struck a little fear?
Well, besides yes. He said his surprise teams were the Orioles and the Blue Jays. Yeah. And it is, I understand why Yankee fans are panicking at the moment, because it feels as if the other teams in the AL East are doing things. Maybe not the Rays, and the Red Sox are losing people. Bregman went to the Cubs. That's a big blow for the Red Sox. But now that Bregman's left the Red Sox, could they be in on Bichette? Like, who knows? Like, what is going on in the AL East? But the Yankees need to start doing something, because if 3 of the teams in the AL East improve for 2026 and the Yankees kind of stay status quo with a couple of little additions, that's not going to be that great for them.
No, and it was annoying to me, actually, to hear that response that the Orioles and the Blue Jays are the surprise teams that are spending a lot. And from what John said, the Orioles are going to continue to be aggressive. Like, they're not remotely done, which is kind of scary too. So that to me would bother me.
Well, that's what happens when you have a disappointing season like the Orioles had. Their season in 2025 was not expected at all. There were injury issues. There were
not an excuse though for what they did.
Well, no, but they also got a new owner. They had the young core, and they didn't do anything with the new ownership. Like, they waited a year to start doing things, which was
the way they're acting. The way they're acting this offseason is how they should have acted last offseason.
Yes, they should have. We said this last offseason. They should have been in on Juan Soto. They might not have gotten him.
By the way, Pete Alonso was also available last offseason.
Right.
Like, he could have gave him the same deal, and he probably would have took it last year too. So, like, that is crazy to me that would have happening. But it does bother me, the two surprise. I was hoping the surprise team was going to be like the Diamondbacks, or like someone that's kind of relevant to the Yankees. The fact that it's 2 teams in their division, should give them a little kick in their behind.
We'll see.
I do want to address one more thing, not involved with our interview, but that got reported over the weekend that I personally think is completely false. I want to get your take on it, though. There was a report that was leaked on Saturday. Leaked is strong. It came out on ESPN. Buster Olney wrote a report that the Yankees are basically moving on from the Cody Bellinger sweepstakes. I don't think there's a remote bit of truth in that. I honestly, and this is
I believe there's an impasse because he wants 7 years.
And he's not getting that.
And he's not getting 7 years.
From anyone. So, no. I mean, he could want all he wants. I want a 7-year deal from Locked On. They're not giving me that. So I don't think anyone is getting 7-year deals. The report came out at a very convenient time. On the weekend when baseball's kind of at an impasse and there's not a lot of signings going on. This is before the Bregman signing came through. Not a lot of news is breaking with baseball, and this
it's like a football weekend. There's like the semifinals of the college football and all that other stuff going on. Yeah.
Weird time when baseball news is kind of dead and they need some clicks on the ESPN MLB page. So that kind of bothered me a little bit.
Right.
I'll say this. If you go back to last offseason, we read like a million reports that the Mets were out on Alonso and Alonso's not returning to the Mets. And then all of a sudden Alonso went back to the Mets.
Right. Obviously it's a different situation because Alonso has always been with the Mets, where Bellinger's been with a number of teams now, and it's almost like I saw someone refer to him as a mercenary kind of thing. So yeah.
He's
it is slightly different, but I see what you're saying. It's true.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going to happen.
I would not. Yeah, and honestly, too. The Yankees are not like, I do believe there's part of the Yankees that probably want to get on with their offseason and they probably want to be able to, and it does impact what you're able to do. I mean, if Bellinger tomorrow signs with the Rockies, they might turn around and pivot towards Bichette. They might pivot towards Tucker. Like, they do want to have an answer so they can go on with their offseason, but their top priority is Cody Bellinger. So
I did see a report about Tucker. The 3 teams that have shown interest and have met with him are the Blue Jays, the Mets, and the Dodgers.
Yeah.
They've all had Zoom meetings with him. So
I don't think that's crazy to think. But again, I think Heyman told us, which is interesting, that Bellinger's decision is not affected by what Tucker does. He's not waiting for Tucker.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's just like some of these reports, you got to be careful that it felt. I'm not criticizing Buster Olney in any way. The piece and the timing of it being released, though, felt a little convenient for clicks rather than being a little truthful, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, that was a fun show. And thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Locked On Yankees. Make sure you subscribe and follow us so you get all the latest episodes. There are more interviews.
Oh, there's plenty
in the pipeline. Coming up the next few weeks, and some of them are going to be really interesting. I'm very excited about this because I always wanted to interview people on the show, but I don't have the ability to ask people for interviews. So I'm glad that I have you as a co-host and you're able to do it because I just am too shy to do that.
Yeah, it's weird. Random female strangers at a bar, I have way more issues asking them for to do things for me than I do for guests on a radio show. Right. I have no problem asking a famous guest to come on at all, anytime.
Yeah. So you guys can follow us on Instagram at Locked On Yankees, all one word. You can follow us on TikTok, LockedOn_Yankees. That'll pick up more steam once spring training starts and once games start. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Yankees ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonyankees.supercast to join the club. Also, click on that QR code. Use your phone. It's the future. It's 2026. It's very easy to do. I know some people don't like doing the QR code, but it's so much easier that way. So try and do that for us to join the Everydayer Club. All right, for those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you listen to Sully as your second listen of the day. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.